Okay, here on the Rich Fantastic channel. My apologies, we weren't recording on the radio show when we did the next list of basketball players for the top 50 coming into this year, the 31 through 40. So we'll give you that right now. At number 31, I have Klay Thompson, the shooting guard of the Golden State Warriors. The guy who averaged 21.7 points per game on 44% three-point shooting. So that's very good from behind the line. That's actually sizzling. His regular field goal percentage is actually not much better, which is surprising. But when you're shooting that well from the three-point line, there's not much you can say that's negative about the guy. Klay Thompson, also an underrated defender. He usually marks up the top wing defender when of the opponents for Golden State. So that's why we have Klay Thompson at number 31. 32, I have Chris Bosh. Now, Bosh was injured last year, of course, had the problems with blood clots in his lungs. Beforehand, though, he was averaging 21.1 points per game and 7 rebounds per game. So we'd like a bit more rebounds from Chris Bosh. Again, Chris Bosh was a guy I wasn't too high on when the big three got together in Miami, but he's certainly come to prove me wrong. He's a guy who can knock down outside shots and does that on a fairly consistent basis, and he's become a winner. He's a two-time champion. So we wish Chris Bosh the best, and hopefully he's back from his injury, and I expect a big year from him if he is fully healed from that. At 33, I have Brook Lopez, the center of the Brooklyn Nets. This is a guy who averaged 17.2 points per game, which is pretty good. His 7.4 rebounds per game is not what you would want from a guy of his size, but he does average 1.8 blocks per game, so just under 2. He's a good rim protector. I'd like to see him be a guy who puts his team on his shoulders a bit more and try to carry the Brooklyn Nets because he's really their best player. And at that size, he has potential to dominate games underneath. If you ever lived up to that potential, I would certainly have him a lot higher than I do have him, but it's just not really been. I don't know if it's his demeanor or what it is, but he's not been a guy who's really been that takeover guy. So if he could start to develop that, then I would look for Brook Lopez to move up on a list like this. At number 34, with Greg Monroe, who is now the power forward for the Milwaukee Bucks. He had a good year last year with the Detroit Pistons, became a free agent. I was expecting him to get more offers. Frankly, as a Celtic fan, I wanted the Celtics to go after him. He was just under 16 points last year at 15.9 per game, 10.2 rebounds on just under 50% shooting. If you round it up, it was 49.6, so that is basically 50%. However, didn't really get the courting I was expecting in the free agent market. So he went to Milwaukee. A lot of times that's really not a free agent destination, so they were willing to pay for him. I think it's going to pay off for Milwaukee. Couldn't even average a block per game, was only at a half block per game, so not really the rim protector. And I haven't seen many Piston games, so I'm wondering if his rebounds were the quote unquote big rebounds, the tough rebounds, as we'd say. But I couldn't tell you, but 10.2 rebounds per game is still 10.2 rebounds per game. So we'll see how he flourishes now with Milwaukee. At number 35, I have Rajon Rondo, the point guard for the Sacramento Kings. Now, Rondo is a guy I would have had in the top 10 years ago. Following that 2012 season, I thought he was playing at an MVP caliber. He was the third team All NBA behind behind Chris Paul at the point guard position. I believe Russell Westbrook got the other one that year. I thought he should have been the first team, and frankly, I thought he should have been the MVP. I was playing this year. The injury and then the rebuilding in Boston and set him back, and then the tumultuous situation with him and Rick Carlisle in Dallas last year. This is a guy who still averages 10.8 assists per game for his career. He's been over 11, in seasons on more than one season. That's certainly something you can't ignore. I'm going to see if a fresh start in Sacramento with guys like DeMarcus Cousins and Rudy Gay will turn him around. And I'm looking for, he's a competitive guy. Obviously, his attitude didn't call him into question, but I'm looking for Rajon Rondo to have a big season this year. I expect him to really come back and try to establish himself as one of the top players in the league. So that's 35, Rajon Rondo. At number 36, the power forward for the Memphis Grizzlies, Zach Randolph. A guy who averaged 16.1 points per game and 10.5 rebounds. Now that's quite impressive for a guy who doesn't really get off the ground that well. Now his defense, he's a guy who can play help defense to help the helper. Now what help the helper is, for those of you who may not know, we'll just use Memphis as an example because that's who he plays for. That's if Marc Gasol is helping on a screen and roll defense as the big man. That means Zach Randolph helps Marc Gasol. That means because when Marc Gasol leaves a man, someone has to cover for him. So that's the helper. That's what that means. Um, he can do that well. He can rotate all right, though he's fairly slow, but he can't rim protect and he can't get off the ground. So that's why I'm surprised he gets as many rebounds as he does. His best offense is making guys work at the defensive end when he has the ball in the post. He's a tenacious guy. And he'll just go right at it. So 36, Zach Randolph. At number 37, I have Kyle Lowry, the point guard of the Toronto Raptors. 17.8 points per game, 6.8 assists per game, but he only shoots 41% from the field. And his 3-point field goal percentage, I believe, was somewhere around 36%. So he's got to be a better shooter. And frankly, if Toronto ever wants to take the next step and get out of the first round of the playoffs, they're going to need him and DeMar DeRozan, obviously, to play better in the playoffs. But for Kyle Lowry, just looking at him personally, he's going to have to be a better shooter. So we'll see if he can develop that more in his career. But he is almost 30, so you wonder if he is just what he is and what he can do. So 37, Kyle Lowry. Number 38, I have Dwayne Wade, the shooting guard of the Miami Heat. It's a guy who did average 21.5 points per game last year on 47% shooting. Those numbers are good. I think that has to do with the fact that LeBron James was gone. They needed someone to pick up the slack, and he did. Dwayne Wade is a guy who's averaged over 24 points per game for his career, but hasn't been close to that since LeBron James came to Cleveland, and I was expecting a little more. I was expecting those numbers to go back to that with LeBron James not there. So the fact that they came down is showing me that his game is on a bit of a decline. So we'll see if he can respond this year, what he's going to do with a healthy Chris Bosh, and if he gets his numbers back up to that. But he is going to be 34 during this season, so we'll see how how that'll play out. He turns 34 in in January, I believe. Number 39, I have Derrick Rose, the point guard of the Bulls. I used to be a big Derrick Rose fan. When he sat out that entire season after the injury, it really left a bad taste in my mouth. His numbers weren't even that great last year. Again, he struggles with injuries. 17.7 points, but only 4.9 assists per game, and he shot even worse than Kyle Lowry did at 40.5% from the floor. So you'd like to see his shooting really improve. And is he ever just going to get back to form, or have the injuries just caught up to him, and this is what you're going to get? I mean, 17.7 and 4.9 isn't bad, but Derrick Rose won the MVP, so is he going to ever return to form? That'll remain to be seen. And at number 40, rounding out the list, is Tyreke Evans. Tyreke Evans is the point guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. I believe he's found a home in New Orleans. His numbers last year were 16.6 points per game, 6.6 assists per game, and 5.3 rebounds per game. Those are impressive numbers for a point guard. His assist total was almost an assist higher than the highest it had ever been, which is rookie year when he averaged 5.8. His points at 16.6 were just below his career average, so he's been a consistent guy throughout his career. And 5.3 rebounds per game. Now, he is a bigger point guard, so that makes it easier for him to rebound, but those are still good numbers. So we'll see if that team continues to improve. He has Anthony Davis to play with. I think he just got lulled into the Sacramento woes when he was there, but he started there the previous season, so this will now be his third season in New Orleans. So a fresh start, I think, has really done Tyreke Evans well, and I look for him to continue his improvement. All right, so that's it. Those are 31 through 40. We will come back Saturday. Usually don't do things on Saturday, but we will give you the Saturday players 41 to 50 to round out the list. Then come Monday, we will give you the Eastern Conference breakdown, and then Tuesday, the day of the opening night, we'll give you the Western Conference breakdown, postseason predictions and awards, the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, all that stuff. So be sure to stay tuned for that, and just keep checking out. We've just posted the videos of the NFL games for this week, so tune into that and any baseball updates. So have a good weekend.